Come on now, fellas! We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go!
Welcome into the Wednesday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Maurice Patton. Across the desk from me is Chris Yow, and as you can tell, the Lee Company studio has moved. It's on the move, as it so often does. Yes, we have basically invaded the house of friend of the show Dan James and set up in his studio today here in Columbia, because our typical Columbia digs are still unavailable to us. And quite frankly, I needed to be in Columbia this afternoon.
Well, we got a lot going on in Columbia today.
And all of it at once. Everything everywhere all at once.
This is the worst part too. It's like, okay, so we've lost some teams. We're down to just a handful of teams left.
But they're all playing at the same time.
That doesn't help us at all.
I need some athletic directors to get together. Okay, when are y'all playing? Okay, what are y'all playing? Let's help us. help you.
No doubt.
Yes. But so yeah, I needed to be in Columbia as expeditiously following the show as possible, and the best way to do that was to invade Dan's house. Welcome to my house, Dan said. So yeah,
don't play your music too loud. That's all I'm saying. Just be careful. Just don't play the music too loud.
I don't think he has a problem with loud music.
Oh no, but by the way he had this board set up, there's no he definitely has no issue with loud music.
Could have been worse.
Hey, I was like, okay. Good thing I didn't have my headphones in when I started that music. I was like, my goodness. Yeah. Oh, well, we do have a good show. Heather Williams is going to join us. We got a ton of NASCAR to talk about because it's All-Star Week, and that's exciting because they'll be at North Wilkesboro.
And they were at Too Tough to Tame last weekend, and what is a race without a Ross Chastain episode, right?
If there isn't one, was there even a race?
Was there?
That's the question.
I don't know. One Wednesday, I'm just going to come in here with a black hat.
Hey, put it on, and I hope it's just got a number one, like a little bitty number one.
We
on
can
it.
do
That's
that.
It. Just
what does it take to be number one?
Trackhouse's merch is that they get the black hats with the Trackhouse logo on it. I say we just pass those out.
There we go.
To everybody on the one team. But also Zach PHARR of Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint is going to join us in, man, impeccable but unfortunate timing considering the news that we saw yesterday concerning an elbow injury in the Texas Rangers organization to Kumar Rocker. So
yeah, and you know, we've seen a fair amount of elbow/forearm issues here in the first 6 weeks or so of the Major League season. And there are those who are trying to connect it to the pitch clock. And I don't know, but we figured we would reach out to somebody who might.
Hopefully Zach can shed some light on that situation, and looking forward to talking to him, a great friend of the show. And of course, Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, our title sponsor. We've also got Wild and Wacky Wednesday, little Braves chatter, little other baseball stuff, some EA Sports College football, and much more. All of that coming your way in just a moment. But before we get to anything else, we need to get you yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Softball scores from Tuesday afternoon. Jackson Christian defeated Friendship Christian 3-2. Also, Smyrna defeated Oakland 3-2. In boys soccer postseason play, it was Brentwood blanking Columbia Central 7-0. Valor Collegiate with a 3-2 win over Greenbrier. Hendersonville down Hillsboro 2-0. Also, it was Laverne 4, Oakland 0. Loretto with a 1-0 win over Milan. Goodness. Martin Luther King 3, White House Heritage 0. Merrill Hyde with a 6-2 win over Watertown. Murfreesboro Central 6, Fairview 0. Station Camp 5, Antioch 2. In college baseball, that MTSU trip to Vanderbilt got canceled due to, quote, threat of inclement weather. I don't know that it ever came.
Yeah, I think they Washington Nationaled it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what was crazy to me about that is the length that Vanderbilt and Tim Corbin typically go to get games in.
And yet
The threat of inclement weather was enough to knock that game out. Anyway, Tennessee and Belmont played through the raindrops. Tennessee with a 9-5 win over the Bruins in 8 innings. I think they ran into curfew issues as a result of a rain delay.
That's correct. Yeah. In Major League Baseball action, it was the Brewers 3, the Cardinals 2. Reds knocked off the Rockies 3-1, and Moose is like, what happened? The Rangers down the Braves 7-4. And in minor league play, the Nashville Sounds fall to Durham 7-2. It was in baseball action this afternoon, double header starting at 5 today. Is University School Nashville at, I guess that's maybe 4 even, at CAK. Tipton Rosemark is at Good Pasture. They just kicked off a twin bill a few minutes ago. At 6:30 tonight, you can find East Robertson at South Pittsburgh, probably 5:30 local time here. And
actually, South Pittsburgh's on Central Time.
What?
Marion County's on Central Time. So,
no.
Yeah, Eastern Time starts at the Hamilton County line.
Really? I would have never guessed that.
Well, I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have relatives in Chattanooga.
That's amazing. Okay, so 6:30 then. Shovel is at Stewart's Creek at 6:30. Lookout Valley's at Joe Burns, and Father Ryan is at McCauley. Both of those last 2 games, times unknown. The TSIAA State Championship game will once again try to play at Zion Christian host Christian Community.
This is softball.
That's right, softball at 4 o'clock today. And Columbia Academy has a doubleheader hosting Boyd Buchanan at 4 and 6.
Also at 6, Loretto is at Summertown. The 6th time these two will have played, this time for the Region 5 2A championship. Also at 6:30, Riverdale is at Smyrna. Green Hill is at Beach at 7. Times undetermined. Bledsoe County at Westmoreland, and Gordonsville at Joe Burns. So it's big doings at Joe Burns, right? They got baseball and softball going on today. Major League Baseball starting right about now. Reds at Rockies. 6:45, you got Milwaukee at St. Louis. At 7:05, the rubber game of the 3-game series between the Atlanta Braves and the host Texas Rangers. In the minors, the Sounds continue their 6-game series at 5:35 at Durham. And on the pitch, the U.S. Open Cup continues with Inter Miami CF. Is that Club of Football?
I don't know. Yeah, it's Miami, so it's probably Spanish. Club Day football.
Club Day football.
Exactly.
Yes, FUTBOL at Geodis Park against the Nashville Soccer Club. That game starts at 7:30, and that is your rundown.
All right.
That was fairly easy, as you've said over the past few days. With postseason, fewer teams are playing, and the rundown gets a little shorter. So
It does, and yet we still find a way to elongate it a little bit.
Well,
and that's okay.
Yeah.
Such is life.
we get to editorialize a little bit now,
And that's
as opposed to just running through them.
and to me that's a little better.
Yeah.
Anyway. Top story today, Mo. John Morant has issued a statement, as did
As did Adam Silver.
as did Adam Silver, although I think his were just remarks. And that being said, at least John's not pulling the old political deny. He owned up to it.
Well, I mean, I don't know what else he could have done. Well, you're right. I mean, there's plenty he could have done. So, yeah. So, kudos to Ja.
The statement reads, I know I've disappointed a lot of people who have supported me. This is a journey, and I recognize there's more work to do. My words may not mean much right now, but I take full accountability for my actions. I'm committed to continuing to work on myself. He may get an opportunity to have all the time in the world to work on himself if Adam Silver has something to do about it.
He may have plenty of time to work on himself. Adam Silver does have something to say about it, and I'm sure he will. I just happened to be in the barber shop for a little bit yesterday afternoon after our show, and the consensus there was 20 to 25 games. What that's worth if Adam's listening.
Yeah, and I'm.
Because here's the deal. As we talked, I don't remember if it was Teresa that we talked to or who it was, but Gilbert Arenas got 56 for bringing a gun into the arena. And I don't think this necessarily rises to that, but as one of the participants in my barbershop conversation said yesterday, this is Ja's second gun-related offense, and so it exhibits maybe a bit of a pattern, which I guess will probably be concerning as Adam Silver and whoever he consults with, consider this situation. So,
I have a question about the whole jaw thing.
Quarter of the season, third of the season. I don't think this rises to a half season type sanction.
What's your question, Justin?
I didn't hear Justin.
My bad. I was just saying.
Turn yourself up, Justin.
Is this an unprecedented? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Is this an unprecedented thing? Like, is there nothing is comparable to other NBA players that have done this in the past? Besides Gilbert Arenas, I know he brought one into the facility one time, but I mean, multiple times has this happened? Like,
but not into the facility. So it's kind of like.
And again, as we discussed with Teresa, Tennessee's an open carry state. You feel like he was local, given the events of the weekend. His sister had graduated the night before. It was Mother's Day, so he was probably
not just an
around.
open carry state, but I mean, the vehicle is an extension of your home as well. Even though if it's not his vehicle or not, it doesn't matter.
A vehicle.
Yeah, it's an extension of your
home.
So
I mean, so there were no legal guidelines that were violated.
Right. Unlike Gilbert Arenas.
Right. But this is his second, again, gun-related offense.
Right. Within the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement that the NBA Players Association and the NBA have agreed to. They're pretty strict on the gun thing. And so
they're
Adam
a private
Silver,
company, right?
Yeah. And so the thing about Adam Silver is his hands may be tied by what the player. It may be a negotiation between he and the Players Association. What makes them happy, but I think the Players Association has to make a point here. They've got to do something pretty significant, if not, I mean, I don't think it's 40 games, but I think they've got to make a significant point with Ja here saying, hey, it doesn't matter who you are. We've got to take a stand on our rules. We've set these rules. You must abide by them. And if you don't, there are going to be consequences.
Right.
And so I think 20 to 25 would make the most sense.
And I think it's the most realistic.
Adam Silver said, I at least was left with the sense that he was taking this incredibly seriously. Honestly, I was shocked when I saw this weekend. When I saw this weekend, I'm assuming the worst. And boy, honestly, I was shocked. I think that Adam Silver is going, fool me once.
Shame on me.
And so now he probably feels a little embarrassed because it wasn't like this was a year or two in between.
No, this
was like
weeks.
Months, if that. Yeah, a couple of weeks. It wasn't that long. So
I mean, it's within the same semester.
Right. and so you're talking about a guy who probably is a little bit embarrassed. And rightfully so. I'd be embarrassed too.
You got hoodwinked, bamboozled, run amok, led astray. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I'm hopeful that this is quickly resolved, that we know what's coming pretty quickly, and that Ja is able to take the time that he got plenty of off season, gonna have a little time during the season. You got to think
gonna have a pretty good bit of time during the season.
So I would suggest, go ahead and make the ruling pretty quickly, and let's just get it over with.
Yep. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Because here's the thing: if you do it now in the middle of the playoffs, it's a story for a couple days. If you do it in the off season, it's a story for a week.
Where folks are looking for things to write about and talk about. Yep. Again, rip the Band-Aid off. And, to Teresa's point from when we had her on a couple of days ago, game 1 of the NBA Finals is coming up. Again, Adam Silver typically has media availability either day before or day of. It would make sense for this to be announced before that, and there's plenty of time. Eastern Conference Finals game 1 is tonight. Is that right? Western Conference was last night.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you've got some time to go ahead and get it done, and maybe it's sank in by the time the NBA Finals start up, and it's not hovering over your crown jewel of the season. So,
I would say that's the way to go. But hey, who are we in?
And what do we know?
I do know this. I do know that Heather Williams is standing by. And so we're going to take a break, first break of the day. When we come back, it's going to be Heather Williams talking NASCAR. So you guys stick around with us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll come back to the Lee Company studio in just a moment. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Attention Tennessee homeowners, we want to buy your house. Hi, we are Real Property Solutions, a local real estate investing group. We pay cash for all types of property, so you walk away with more money in your pocket because we eliminate any fees, closing costs, and commissions. Now the best part, we can buy your house as is, meaning you don't have to do a thing to your property. You get to take what you want, leave what you don't, and don't even worry about cleaning. We close on your timeline, whether that's 7 days or 70 days. Interested in selling? Just give us a call and we'll come out to your property and quote you a cash offer within 24 hours. Please call 615-527-8750. That's 615-527-8750.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Turn my mic off.
Turn our mics off.
Oh, welcome back into Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Chris Yow. And joining us on the Real Property Solutions hotline to talk a little vroom vroom, as she does every Wednesday, is Heather Williams of WCYB TV up in Bristol. And Heather, you are stationary today.
I know. I'm actually here in the flesh and not out running around. The running around comes later with the state playoffs, but yeah, right now I'm actually at the station.
The calm before the storm, huh?
Yes, for sure. You know,
you'll
be out around tonight.
I do know. Hopefully your coaches did you some type of a solid, and they don't have everybody playing at one time.
Oh gosh, no. Gosh, no. Well, let me put it this way. The games that I know that are going on, I have no schedule. I don't know how it works up there. I have no schedule. The TWSLA has no times on the brackets here, and I've received no schedule from any of the schools. I put out an APB on Twitter today asking for start times, and of course, all the Virginia schools replied, which A, I have time for them. B, they're in district play, so they're not getting any love because it's not deep enough in the playoffs yet. So, yeah,
nothing personal. Strictly business.
Yeah, nothing personal, but none of y'all are going home today, so we gotta go. We gotta go to the. They play 2 weeks after Tennessee is done, so they're gonna get all the spotlight in the world for 2 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
Good for them.
All right. Well, yeah, we discussed the fact that we've got at least 2 games in our immediate coverage area at the same time this afternoon. So
only 2.
Well, no, actually,
3.
There's more than 2, but
3. Well, technically, 2 at the same time and then 2 at the same time.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
We got 2 at the
and one of me. So
we have every single game that was supposed to be played yesterday was rained out by the storms that came through. We have a game from Monday that was rained out that's being played today. The District 1 for a softball has not even played the semifinal round yet. So, because they got rained out on Monday. So, yeah, it's interesting. Everybody wants to play at 5:30. That seems to be the time that everybody.
That's the golden hour, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we actually have a game that was rained out Saturday and Monday that's being played today.
Yeah.
So yeah,
They're
fun
perfect.
stuff.
Hopefully.
Shh, bite your tongue. Heather, you and I texted Sunday night, Monday maybe, and Chris and I alluded to it in our open. You know, if there's not a Ross Chastain incident, is there actually a race at this point?
These days it appears no. I mean, I feel like you have to. I think I talked about this last week when Chris was out with you guys. He has been blamed for some things that aren't necessarily his fault. Now, don't be wrong. This week was definitely his fault. He absolutely made a mess of that. He took himself and Kyle Larson out of the race. But you know, it's just like I heard on Sirius XM radio they were talking about this. I'd kind of forgotten about this, but very early in Brad Keselowski's career, they would say someone would wreck on the backstretch and Brad would be on the front stretch, and it was Brad's fault. That is where we are with Ross Chastain. But it's fascinating because Jordan Bianchi from The Athletic was on Sirius. This is when I was listening to this conversation, and he said that Ross actually got the third highest amount of cheers at Darlington before the race. So the fans clearly love this. The drivers clearly hate it. I just got done doing a Zoom talking about the All-Star race with one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers, Jeffrey Bodine. And I asked him about this, and his response was, get over it. The drivers need to get over it.
So what was that your video that was circulating around? Because I saw a video that was circulating of Jeff saying, you know, these drivers need to get over it because they clearly never raced against Dale.
I literally just got done talking to him, like,
oh man,
with you. But yes, he has told other people the same thing. He is of the, you know, he raced with Earnhardt, right? I mean, he is of the opinion, and I mean, they were rivals. Anyone that knows what went on back then, they were not best friends. But he doesn't care. I mean, that's what you do. Why would you? You know, in his eyes,
Rubbin's racing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now I will say this. Even Ross's owner, one of his owners, Justin Marks, has said he needs to calm it down a little bit because
gotta stop wrecking those cars. We got to pay for them.
Right. Well, and the other thing is that if you make everybody in the garage area mad at you, it is going to be very difficult to win championships. Even Earnhardt had friends. Right. So he's got to have some friends. And at times at times Ross has even gotten into it with his own teammates. So, I mean, he's going to have some friends if he wants to win a championship. He's leading the points right now. He finished second in the points last year. He's a very talented driver and very good equipment. He can win a championship, but not if all 37 of the other drivers out on the field hate him. You got to have
and Rick Hendrick seems to feel like that's the direction he's going in. He had some comments coming out of the weekend after William Byron's win. I guess Byron drives for Hendrick. Is that right?
Yeah, Byron drives for Hendrick, but he was referring to Larson, who also drives for Hendrick, who Kyle wrecked. But I mean, and actually Kyle and Ross have gotten into it a couple of times in the last month or so. So I think it's really funny because, like, all of a sudden now Ross is trying to be friends with Denny. When Denny won, Ross went to victory lane at Kansas and congratulated him. So, I mean, even Ross knows he's got to find some friends, right? Because Denny's the guy that's been, he's the
hated.
Right. And so, I mean, I've known Ross for a long time. Like, I remember interviewing Ross when he was a Truck Series driver down at Daytona. And, you know, these PR people push out these up and coming drivers and like, just talk to this guy. Just talk to him. If nothing else, when he gets reps dealing with the media, just talk to him. And they, you know, they come around and they press their next big driver coming up. And I interviewed Ross back then, probably, I don't know, 7 years ago. And I like him. And I am of the absolute belief he needs to go ahead and just wear this black hat thing. It's working for him. But he's got to, there's been a lot of comparisons to Earnhardt, but he really needs to, if he's going to do this, he really needs to study Earnhardt and find out how he did it and how he was so successful, not just go out there and make everybody angry. Or even Kyle Busch. and see how they were able to find the balance.
I just find it funny, and if you ever hear somebody say that, you know, what's coming usually isn't funny. Not funny, ha. But I like how Kyle Larson just pretends like he didn't do the same exact thing the day before to win a race. Literally did the exact same thing, pushed a guy out of the way, put him into the wall, won a race in the Xfinity race. And now you want to come out here and talk trash? This guy can kick rocks.
Well, I don't disagree with your statement, but I think if you ask Kyle, and Kyle's a pretty low key kind of driver, right? I mean, I got pushed into Kyle and hit him with my microphone at Bristol, and he yelled at me, rightfully so, right? The next week at Martinsville, he comes and finds me to apologize. Like, he's like a pretty cool dude, right? He's not a, but I think his argument on that would be, but I don't do it to everybody every week. Right. And I didn't put us both in the fence. Like, he did the same thing to Nemechek, but neither one of them wrecked. Right. They finished 1-2, finished the race. I don't even think he was upset about what happened the week before with him and Denny, right? When Denny did it to him, because both of them were able to drive away and finish 1-2. I think the difference in the eye of Kyle, not saying it's right, definitely not saying it's right, but the difference is that he's not wrecking people, and it's not happening every week.
So is the difference who it was then?
You mean for Kyle? Yeah, absolutely. The difference is who it was. I mean, Denny did it to him the week before. Kyle wasn't mad.
That being said, now, and just pointing this out, Kyle did a little rubbing on the restart prior to that. And is that maybe Kyle is a fantastic driver. We have certainly seen that over the years. Kyle is maybe one of the most talented guys in the garage, if not the most talented. Does he have the ability to do that and guys keep going and keep racing, and maybe Ross just doesn't have the experience necessary to rub guys and still be able to finish the race? Is that the problem?
I would say that's a big problem. But then again, you probably shouldn't be, trying to pull off moves that you can't execute. I mean, that's what I'm
saying. I mean, yeah. Is he trying to, does he think he's Kyle Larson when he's really more Denny Hamlin? Yes. And I think that may be the perfect example.
Right, because Denny's a good driver. He should have had a championship or two, but he doesn't have the car control of a Kyle Larson. I mean, he doesn't have the dirt racing background, so he doesn't have that car control and the ability to put cars wherever he wants. There's a lot of drivers in the garage that don't have that. That's what makes Kyle special. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair assessment for sure.
Not to spend all of our time on Kyle Larson and Ross Chastain, because
it's one of the greatest talking points in NASCAR Cup Series right now, though.
And it's something that people that aren't even NASCAR people are watching and paying attention to. Like I was saying, Mo texted me right after the race, right?
He's like, hey, now.
The only other time he's ever texted me after a race was when Bubba Wallace won. That's it. Those are the two times I've gotten race text.
And speaking of Bubba Wallace, he's had a heck of a month. The last 4 races, he has been really good.
Yeah, they're figuring some things out.
I was about to say, what's changed?
I mean, they were just making a lot of mistakes earlier in the year. They had the speed, they had the cars. Obviously, Tyler Reddick was running really well. So 23-11, they had all their ducks in a row, but they were just making a lot of mistakes. And the thing about Bubba is that he is very hard on himself. So if he makes a mistake, there's the opportunity for things to snowball a little bit. Yeah. So once he got a good finish and realized, I'm not terrible at this. I'm actually pretty good at this. Then that starts to snowball. And I think he becomes really dangerous because we're coming into a stretch of tracks that are really good for Bubba. Nashville is a really good track for him. Some of the bigger tracks that are at mile and a half are Bubba Wallace tracks. So he could all of a sudden be a pretty dangerous driver as far as the ability to pile up top 5s, top 10s, and maybe even wins. He's already gotten himself into the top 16 in points, so he's holding down right now one of those playoff spots. And I think he's. If I was picking right now, we're still a month away, but he's my guy at Nashville. He should have won last year, and I think that he has a really good chance to come back and make amends for that this year.
The longer tracks seem to be better for Bubba. This weekend, you're going back to North Wilkesboro, which is not long. That'll be the first time NASCAR has been there in 3 decades, I guess, on the 0.625 mile track.
Yeah, 96 was the last race.
That's amazing. That's I would say they're excited. What do you think, Heather?
Oh gosh, I mean, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a zoo. Outside of something like a Super Bowl, which I haven't covered, but I have covered World Series, obviously the Daytona 500. The only thing that I can kind of compare this to as far as how crazy it's going to be and the anticipation outside of those marquee events, right, would be like the Battle at Bristol. I think it's going to be, it just got that kind of unique, just highly anticipated kind of aura around it. And and traffic's going to be a nightmare, much like the Battle of Bristol, because there is one way into Wilkesboro and one way out, and there's going to be 40,000 people there. So, but
and if they could fit 60, there'd be 60.
Do you have access to a helicopter, Heather?
Gosh, I wish I did. No, I'm bringing a sleeping bag though. I'm just going to sleep in the back of my car for a while, wait for that traffic to thin out. That's what I did.
That's a veteran move.
Well,
make sure to take snacks.
I didn't take a sleeping bag or a pillow or anything about Bristol, but I did take a nap before I left. I left the track at like 4 a.m. and I live a mile and a half away from the track, the Battle of Bristol.
You just walked.
I thought about it. I really did. If I didn't have all my news equipment, I would have walked. That would have been not that much fun with all my.
Get you a wagon or something. That would have been the move.
But
Heather, you talked about events and that kind of thing, and it made me wonder. Did you go to the Tennessee Virginia Tech game?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about in the Battle of Bristol. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's okay.
Yeah, and it was an event. It was wild, man. I'm glad I did that once in my lifetime, but I don't know if I'd want to do it twice. It was because there were just so many people. It was cool though. It was like I said, outside of covering the World Series and the Final Four, it's probably the coolest thing I've ever covered.
Wow.
That's high praise.
That's pretty up there. Heather, when we ask you what your read is, what your thoughts are from week to week, again, there's not been a race at North Wilkesboro since '96. I don't know.
I don't think Jeff Gordon's going to win this week.
Yeah, I don't know if you have. What feel do you have for this? What are your thoughts? What's your insight as far as this goes?
Right. There is no baseline for sure. I think when you start looking at this, you start looking at a couple of things. First of all, somewhat similar tracks, right? So I would say who's good on the short tracks of all kinds, whether it's a flat track at Martinsville or the high banks at Bristol or Phoenix or whatever. What drivers are consistently good at the short tracks? Because that skill, no matter the banking or the relative length, is a skill that's transferable on all short tracks. So when you look at that, you start looking at a guy like Denny Hamlin. Bubba, even though he hasn't won a lot in the Cup Series, he comes from a short track background, so he's definitely a guy. Obviously, Kyle Busch is a guy that's really good on the short tracks. But then I also put into this at North Wilkesboro, I put into it something I call the want it factor, right? Who really wants to win an event like this? And the guy that he's also good on the short track. He's very good at Bristol. Martinsville, not so much. Phoenix, he's pretty good at. He's won a couple championships there. But he always seems to show up at these marquee kind of inaugural events. I know this is not the first time we've raced at North Wilkesboro, but it is, for all intents and purposes, kind of an inaugural event. And that's Joey Logano. Joey Logano won the first race at the Coliseum. He won the dirt race at Bristol. And he is really a guy that just really focuses on, he wants to be the first. He wants to be the guy that gets that first whatever. So I think he's a guy that you look at. And then also some of the older organizations that have actually, the organizations have raced at North Wilkesboro, maybe not the drivers, and it would mean a lot to them, like an RCR. So like an Austin Dillon. I know that winning this race would mean everything to Austin and everything to RC. So that's kind of what I look at when I'm handicapping this race, just because you're right, there's no baseline. There's been 3 Cup drivers that have been on the track to this point at testing. And so everybody else, this is brand new.
Yeah, number 3 in Victory Lane would be something special. I know that Junior would probably not make it through. I mean, that would be tough. So it's going to be a fun weekend. I'm super pumped to watch it all go down. All-Star Weekend in North Wilkesboro is this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure to follow.
There's a lot of cool things leading up to it. The racing last night got rained out, so they're going to run 2 late model races tonight. And then on Friday, they're bringing back the Pit Crew Challenge, which is something that I always loved. And so I think that's going to be great. That's how they're going to set the field for the Cup race. There's a truck race on Saturday, and then the All-Star Open and the All-Star race on Sunday. So there's a ton going on. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Make sure to follow at WCYB_Heather for all the coverage of the All-Star race. She'll be bringing it to you. And next week, we will not talk to you, Heather, because we will be amidst the state tournaments, as you well know.
You coming down?
Maybe for the championship, depending. I mean, I'm going to assume yes, because I'm going to assume Science Hill is going to be there as one of the top teams in the country. They've been so far this year. I stranger things have happened, but I'm assuming that they'll be down there. So probably for them. And then there's a couple of other teams that have a chance to be in the championship game, but not to the championship game if I do come.
So maybe we will talk to you at some point.
Yeah, look us up.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's
for sure. If I'm heading down to see the toppers, I'll definitely.
Well, if she's gonna be there between Thursday and Saturday, I know something that she might want to partake on. So we'll talk with you off air about that. Yes, it's special. It's special, and every time we talk to you is special, Heather, and we appreciate it. We will talk to you in a couple of weeks on the air. Thanks again for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's always fun.
It's Heather Williams on the Real Property Solutions hotline. Real Property Solutions, give them a call. 615-527-8750 is the number. And all you have to do is call them. They'll buy your house as is. You don't even have to clean. You can take what you want, leave what you don't. It does not matter. They'll close on your timeline, whether it's 7 days or 70. Just give them a call. Again, 615-527-8750 is the number. Well, let's take a break. When we come back, a little baseball right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Attention Tennessee homeowners, we want to buy your house. Hi, we are Real Property Solutions, a local real estate investing group. We pay cash for all types of property, so you walk away with more money in your pocket because we eliminate any fees, closing costs, and commissions. Now the best part, we can buy your house as is, meaning you don't have to do a thing to your property. You get to take what you want, leave what you don't, and don't even worry about cleaning. We close on your timeline, whether that's 7 days or 70 days. Interested in selling? Just give us a call and we'll come out to your property and quote you a cash offer within 24 hours. Please call 615-527-8750. That's 615-527-8750.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Welcome back into Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Chris Yow, and I'm not used to bringing us back, so sorry about that. Anyway, hey, always good when we can talk to Heather Williams. Always good when we can talk a little Braves, even though we did not come back with this day in Braves history. We'll go ahead and get to that, I guess, as we contemplate Game 3 of the series out in Arlington later tonight. May 17th, 1970, Ralph Garr's solo home run in the 10th tied the visiting Mets, and his solo in the 12th gave the Braves a 4-3 victory as the Roadrunner tied a major league record for extra inning home runs, becoming the fourth MLB player to hit 2 long balls and extras in a game and the first since 1966. When Art Shamsky remember Art Shamsky?
No.
Accomplished the feat for the Reds in a loss to the Pirates. So this guy hit 2 extra inning home runs and his team still lost. At least that wasn't the case for Ralph Garr. So
that's brutal.
That is brutal.
That's like giving up 12 runs in the 12th inning to lose 30-18, which we didn't put in the rundown.
Which you didn't put in the rundown. Let's what you mean we?
Sometimes you add the scores I forget.
Except when I forget.
Forgettable for Cumberland and everybody else here.
I think Cumberland would just assume we did forget. Yes. 30-18 Cumberland lost. Where was that? It was in some tournament, clearly.
It was the NAIA tournament. I don't know if they were in the national tournament.
I don't know that it was the Nationals necessarily, but yeah. Who did they lose to? 30-18 and 12, y'all.
Yeah, I don't know if they care for us to. It was
yeah.
Let's see here, the NAIA baseball opening round. Yeah.
Oh, it was against
Tennessee Wesleyan.
Tennessee Wesleyan. Yeah, Tennessee Wesleyan scores 12 in the 12th to get the win. Cumberland season comes to an end.
30-18.
12 runs.
Did anybody pit? Like, did they just soft tossed each other? I mean,
Cumberland soft tossed to Tennessee Wesleyan in the 12th.
Clearly, but it was 18-18 going
into the 12th.
So here's the thing: is let's see, the Bulldogs rattled off 9 runs to take the lead, and then Cumberland battled back to send it to extras, but Tennessee Wesleyan scored 12 in the 12th to move on.
Hang on a minute. Hang on.
It's got to be the wildest thing you've ever heard.
And wacky.
On Wednesday, right here.
This was in Upland, Indiana. Phoenix season ends in crazy extra innings loss to number 4 Tennessee Wesleyan. Goodness gracious, where is this box score? Here we go.
Oh, the box score. Good Lord.
Actually, let's see.
Your guess is as good as
Wesleyan
mine
scored 9 according to this. And then Cumberland scored 3 in the bottom of the 9th to tie the game at 18 apiece. Cumberland scored 6 in the bottom of the 1st, scored 4 in the bottom of the 7th, and led 15-9 going into the 9th. Wesleyan scored 9 in the top of the 9th. Cumberland scored 3 in the bottom to force extras. And then again, Wesleyan with 12 in the 12th. That's amazing. 30 runs on 25 hits, 1 error for Tennessee Wesleyan in the win. Cumberland with 18 runs, 13 hits, 3 errors. Oh.
Freed Hardeman also ousted by Georgia Gwinnett 21-4. 21 runs on 21 hits for GGC. 39 runs in 2 games for the Grizzlies.
Wow.
And AJ Zepkowski makes history by becoming the only player in league history to hit 30 home runs and steal 30 bases.
Oh.
Can we call him up? Can he play left field? I mean, I'm just saying.
You'd like to think you could get something out of him. Yeah, that's wow.
Old AJ. Spelled AJAY. It's spelled out. It's not A.J. It's
AJAY. Okay. I see you. I kind of like it.
That was a little detour there, but 12 runs in the 12th is worth the detour.
No doubt. Well, unless you're Cumberland.
Unless you're Cumberland.
Yeah.
Man, that's rough.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Last night was rough too, man. Speaking of box scores, Atlanta gets a run in the second, and through 3. Blame me if you want. I see the 0. I'm sitting there and I pointed it out to somebody. Just pointed, didn't say anything, just pointed, just said, hey, look at this. And apparently that was enough to jinx it because Jared Schuster gave up 3 in the 4th.
Well, to 3 guys, basically.
And
he gave up like back-to-back extra base hits and then a 2-run homer. I mean, and it was like a pop-up shower. I mean, it was gone as quick as it came.
Yep.
But it was all that Texas needed, basically, because the Braves offense struggled.
And here's the thing. If Jared Schuster only gives up 3 runs, you feel like you need to give him some help.
Certainly. I mean, that's a game where the offense has to say, we've got a young guy on the mound. He's making his 3rd major league start. We got to get him some support. And Braves scored early, didn't they?
They scored 1 in the 2nd on the Acuna homer, was it?
Was that
no? Arcia singled on
right.
Albies
That
doubled.
Soft single up the middle. Yeah.
Albies doubled. Arcia singles, scores Albies, and then Acuna homered, and then Murphy homered.
Murphy's homer was funny.
But
that was, that was
late.
Basically too little, too late.
Yeah. And it was too little, too late. I mean, Robbie Grossman out here, former Brave, Robbie Grossman.
Yeah, it's tough for me to
killing us.
Yeah, it's tough for me to get mad really at Robbie Grossman.
Guys just kind of always found a spot, and good for him.
He did some good things for us last season, so I wasn't really surprised to see him continuing to do good things for somebody else. I just hate that it was against us.
Yeah. So tough night again, bullpen struggling. The bullpen is struggling.
The bullpen is struggling. I mean, Dylan Lee struggled.
And someone asked, why did he go out for a 2nd inning? Well, he's been consistently getting 5 or 6 outs.
Yeah, but
time.
You know what, though? Schuster, left-hander. Lee, left-hander.
Yeah.
What did you change?
Other than pitch count, nothing. So instead of trying to, mix it up, go to maybe Jesse Chavez or something early, you go to Dylan Lee, who's typically been the first guy out of the bullpen no matter what, and got through the sixth fine. I mean, I'm sorry, through the sixth, he gave had one run. Okay, it is what it is. But you don't send him back out there in the seventh.
I don't think you bring him out in the sixth, but I mean, I don't think he's the first guy out behind your starter who's a left-hander. I mean, I think you got to change their look when you make that change. But maybe I'm oversimplifying things.
Well, again, he only gave up one run, so get him out. Let's change it up. Let's throw a right-hander out there.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like Jimenez has got to be the guy, throw him out there. Now
I'm not sure
that's a great guy, but if that's what you feel like, that's the time.
I'm not feeling Joe Jimenez at this point. I mean, to me, he's spit the bit more than he's succeeded coming out of the pen. And, I know everybody goes through rough spots, but I also know that, maybe it's a little magnified, but has he had a good outing?
That's a good question. I really don't know. He's not been great. There's no question there.
And again, speaking of magnifying, to get him, the Braves gave up one of their top hitting prospects, Justin Henry Malloy, ex-Vandy boy who finished up at Georgia Tech. So
yeah, a guy that you feel like could have certainly given you something, even if it's the DH position. I mean, obviously he plays.
Or even if you trade him, you should have got more than Joe Jimenez.
I don't even know what else came with that, if anything, but you would hope that something else came. I don't know. I'm struggling with the bullpen right now, just because this is supposed to be the strength of the team. And look, the offense is just dealing with some unlucky stuff right now. They're hitting the ball crazy hard. It's just not falling, and it's going to start falling. But none of that matters if your bullpen can't get folks out in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. That's
I mean, when you close the gap and you feel like, okay, we got some momentum going, that kind of thing, and then you give one up by the bullpen, it's like it deadens everything you've already done.
Yeah.
So
tough night.
Yeah, and tonight will definitely be a challenge for the offense. The good thing is it should be a challenge for Texas's offense as well, because you've got Spencer Strider going to the bump for the Braves, and you've got Nathan Eovaldi for the Rangers, who has been nailed here of late. I think he's pitched into the 8th or deeper in each of his last 3 starts.
That is insanity.
Well, especially in this economy.
Yeah, in this world, that is insanity. His last 2, he went to finished 8, no earned runs on 5 hits against the Angels, and then he finished 8 2/3 against Oakland. So it's the Angels and Oakland.
And then a complete game shutout
before that against the Yankees, 3 hit shutout.
Yeah, so complete games. I didn't even know CGs were a thing anymore. I didn't know that was legal.
Hard to
find.
You
can do that?
Hard to find. So good luck to the Braves tonight. It's pretty much a pick 'em, 51.8% on the Braves. So there you have it. Before we get out of here real quick, former Braves pitcher, current Blue Jays pitcher, Jay Jackson, admitted that he was tipping pitches when Aaron Judge sent one to the moon on him Monday night. So
bang zoom.
It was
one of these days, Alice.
Just an absolute moonshot. So not great for and by the way, Jay Jackson, the one that I see you the picture, he's still displayed in a Braves uniform, pitching for the Blue Jays.
I guess Toronto hasn't updated his headshot.
Clearly, they must we're tipping our pitch too, Jay. You don't pitch here anymore.
Oh yeah, I mean that was on Sunday night, and by Monday he was at Toronto's AAA, where he could go work on not tipping pitches.
There you go. So, all right, let's take a break because Zach PHARR is standing by, and we're going to talk a little bit more baseball with him, but on the sports medicine side. So stick around here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be back to the Lee Company studio in just a moment.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
There is nothing better than drinking an ice-cold beverage while taking in a Nashville Sounds baseball game. Hi, I'm Stephanie Miller with Mornings on Main Street. The Nashville Sounds and Main Street Media Television have teamed up to promote Sunday Family Fun Day here at First Horizon Park, each Sunday home game. Just go to your favorite Main Street Media website and click on Sounds Main Street Media Day banner to register to win free tickets. And then we'll see you here at the ballpark.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow alongside Mo Patton, and
that was a short break. Was it?
It was a little shorter than normal.
That's why I wasn't ready.
It's all good. It's all good. We are coming to you from the Lee Company studio. Glad to have you guys with us here on this Wild and Wacky Wednesday. The weirdest and wildest news from across the world coming your way in just a few moments. But first, we go back to the Real Property Solutions hotline as we talk with Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joints, Dr. Zach PHARR. Zach, how's it going, man?
Hey, good, Chris. Good to see you guys. Good to see you, Mo.
Hey, you as well, Zach. Appreciate you taking some time with us, man. As I mentioned to you when we reached out, there have been, I don't know if there have been more arm injuries among major league pitchers over the first 6 weeks or so of this season than usual, or if I'm just noticing it. But saw something on Twitter, scrolling through Twitter as I am wont to do during the show. The Los Angeles Dodgers' Dustin May left his start today after 16 pitches with some sort of an elbow/forearm ailment. And as I mentioned, we've seen a lot of these type Tommy John adjacent injuries, it seems, Zach, and some people that may or may not necessarily be in the know seem to be trying to draw some type of correlation between those injuries and the newly implemented pitch clock at the major league level. And obviously I don't want to speak for Chris, but obviously I don't have any clue as to the validity of that connection. We're hoping you might.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to assess, honestly. The pitch clock could certainly have some things to do with it. When we look at
Okay, let me
this
stop
year's
you
data-
right there.
Yeah, go ahead.
How could the pitch clock play a role in this?
Yeah, so we know that fatigue is one of the biggest players that can cause elbow injuries, a variety of elbow injuries. The biggest buzzword that we know with the public is Tommy John injury and Tommy John surgery resulting from that. But certainly fatigue can play a big part in that. I always talk to my high school pitchers and collegiate pitchers that I see that you should never be throwing on a fatigued arm. So we teach them not to go out and try and throw 90 miles an hour after you've just had your high school workout. That's kind of a recipe for disaster. So in regards to the pitch clock, we are obviously increasing or decreasing the rest time between throws, essentially. And it happens on a micro and a macro level. You're decreasing the time between each pitch when the pitcher's on the bump, but when they're in the dugout, they're also in the dugout less time because the other pitcher's doing the same thing. So that's kind of a twofold increase in the amount of, or I guess a decrease in the amount of time they have to rest their arm. But these guys are high level elite athletes, so they'll make their adjustments. And when they worked with this with the minor leagues last year, they actually saw a decrease in injuries. So it's tough to draw big conclusions, this early on in the season. It may be nothing, but your mind, as a physician, does go places on what it could possibly be because of.
I love that you brought up the minor league point, because there are a lot of folks who have dealt with the pitch clock in the minor leagues and have done so for at least a couple of years. I know it was at AAA for 2 years prior to being implemented in Major League Baseball. Is that a factor? These guys who have had the opportunity to work through it for a couple of years, and now we're seeing these injuries to kind of more veterans, or is it just potentially just age on top of that?
Well, one of the biggest things is also just simple velocity. We got guys that are hitting 105. Nolan Ryan maybe hit 108 unofficially back in the day, but this is some of the hardest throwers that we've really ever seen. And so they're throwing high velocity with smaller rest times, and so those things could potentially lead to more injuries. We know that higher velocity just in general makes you more at risk for Tommy John injury. And so the bottom line is the human body sees more torque on that elbow than just about any other sport in regards to the elbow when you're throwing at such a violent speed. So at some point, the ligaments and the tendons about the elbow can see some injury.
I love that. I think that's one of the major points here, is that these are guys who really are throwing just insane numbers up on these. I guess they're not guns anymore, but whatever
it is that they're measuring,
whatever's tracking these pitches, it's really insane. And so when you get a chance to kind of look at this as from a 100,000 foot view, are we seeing more guys putting that pressure to throw hard because you kind of have to even extend your career at this point? Is that the issue? Is that maybe they're training too much to throw too hard? Or can that be an issue if you do train to throw hard?
Yeah, no doubt that everybody wants to see, even from youth baseball, high velocity, right? It's just a simple metric that you can look at and say, hey, look how hard I'm throwing. They focus less on their mechanics. They focus less on their accuracy. And they just want to see three numbers on the gun, So If you're just simply trying to do velocity, then that can be a problem. You gotta have good mechanics. You gotta have good flexibility. You see it in our younger population. Some of them, as they get into their high school years, are bulking up for football, or bulking up because they utility and play other positions, and they also want to hit home runs, and so they get a little too tight, a little too bulky in their upper body, and decrease their flexibility, and so that puts more strain on their joints. And so there's a lot of factors that go into what causes those injuries, but fatigue, higher velocity, certainly those are two of the key components.
Dr. Zach PHARR, orthopedic surgeon with Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, joining us on the Real Property Solutions hotline here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. And
perfect.
Yeah, right. Again, we just got done with our NASCAR segment a little bit ago, so we got to get all our sponsors in too. But Zach, fortunately, the pitch clock hasn't trickled down to high school athletics yet. As you talk about some of the things that you have to be concerned with in trying to prevent some of these arm injuries, do you feel like you're seeing more or less of those amongst local high school athletes these days than you have, or what's coming through your office along those lines these days?
Yeah, no doubt you're seeing more Tommy John injuries, more strains, because baseball has just gotten more and more competitive over the years, and again, people want to focus on on that high velocity number, and so John Smoltz talked about it being an epidemic a decade ago or so, and we've seen that continue to rise. I think last year more than 30 of the pitchers drafted had already had Tommy John surgery before coming into the league. So I mean, a lot of these strong arms are getting Tommy John surgery in high school. Most of them now, more so than in college or professionally. Sometimes now it's trickled all the way down to early high school careers that are being affected by it.
And it seems like a lot of these guys, Zach, are kind of wearing it as a badge of honor. It almost feels like there are, those who have had Tommy John and those who haven't had it yet, basically.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the bottom line is the key thing to understand is you do not need to have Tommy John surgery in order to be a great baseball player. I mean, that's, I agree with you that kids and high schoolers up into college are starting to think I got to get this to throw better, and that's certainly not the case. The vast majority of these kids need to be focusing more on their mechanics, more on their flexibility and their conditioning than simply throwing as hard as they can until their elbow hurts.
And to that point, I also understand that Tommy John surgery has some of the most strenuous, I guess, physical therapy involved, and it doesn't not hurt. It's, I guess, the best way to put it. It's probably not the best way to put it, but it's not an easy thing to recover from.
Yeah, no doubt. No surgery is 100% easy. That's for sure. And so we have a lot of great things that we can do now to make it easier, in terms of our pain control, some local blocks that we can do. In therapy, we get going right away, and therapy is a huge player in recovery after Tommy John surgery. And so the recovery, yes, the big picture, it can be a year's recovery for a reconstruction, where you actually create a new ligament because the old ligament's not any good anymore. Those are for your players that have completely destroyed their ulnar collateral ligament, or their Tommy John ligament, as most people call it. So if it's completely torn and poor quality, we got to add some quality, and and we usually use a tendon from another part of the body to create that. And so that takes longer for that to heal in because you're creating new tissue. So it's typically a year's recovery, can even be up to 18 months. But when we do what's some people call it Tommy John light or a UCL repair, where we actually get to keep the patient's native tissue. So they have good tissue, but it's just been torn off the bone and is not working correctly. So we're able to use specialized anchors to repair that native ligament, and they can heal up quicker. And that's normally about a 6-month recovery. So
that hurts. Just you
My elbow's
verbalizing that.
hurting. My elbow is currently hurting right now. I don't know if that's the weather or if it's just
no,
Zach.
it's Zach.
It's all your fault. It's all your fault.
Mo does not want to wear the badge of honor.
No.
And I'll tell you, Zach,
nor should he.
I can't bowl because of this, and I probably need the surgery, but I'm 36 years old, and I really just would rather just not pick up anything or bowl. I'd just rather not bowl than have to deal with it.
This is definitely what we're talking about now is definitely unique to pitchers and throwing athletes that are creating a significant torque on their elbow. You know, most people, even football players or other athletics that happen to have an elbow injury that is a Tommy John injury, they will typically do fine with recovery because they're not putting the same recovery without surgery, because they're putting very different stress on their elbow compared to these throwing athletes. So I would we'd need to get you into the office and take a look at you, Chris, but I hope that we wouldn't need to be doing surgery on you.
One person that you did need to do surgery on, Zach, and we talked last August or so, I guess. Bryce Miller, the pitcher / quarterback down at Richland, who had Tommy John surgery right about this time a year ago, I guess it was, and actually started at quarterback for Richland in their season opener. And I don't know how much you've seen of him. They are actually playing in the sectionals out at McKenzie. I guess they get started tomorrow, maybe. But I don't know if you've seen him this spring. I have not, but I was wondering if you had seen or heard anything out of him or how things were going with him.
No, that's great to hear. I'm glad to hear they're still competing, that they're still going with baseball season, because Bryce is such an awesome kid, such a fun comeback story for him, being able to get back and play starting quarterback for his high school team after surgery. He's your classic patient that is a high level throwing athlete with an isolated Tommy John injury, but good tissue. And so he was a great candidate for the UCL repair that we talked about. And thankfully he was a rock star in his recovery. He was disciplined, right attitude, and he was able actually to get back, if I remember correctly, back to playing football as a quarterback in around 4 months after his surgery. So that is very unique to him, and is, shows his work ethic, shows his passion for the game. And he did very well following his surgery.
That was mind-blowing to me. But at the same time, Zach, as you and I discussed, there's different throwing motions with a football versus a baseball that kind of allowed for that to take place for him. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt when you're a rock star in rehab either.
No doubt.
You gotta want it.
Bryce, you got to want it. That's absolutely correct. And you talk to Bryce, you watch Bryce. When I'd watch his highlights when he was recovering, because you can get a lot of feedback from video and getting videos from his athletic trainers. And, you could tell that he had a love for the game and had the work ethic that it requires to bounce back so quick.
Zach PHARR with us here on the Real Property Solutions Hotline of Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Zach, we appreciate you taking some time with us today. Very enlightening, and I think it's important for our audience specifically, obviously, which is parents and and sometimes a lot of athletes who need to hear this kind of stuff. So it's obviously important for them and for us. And we appreciate you shedding some light on this subject, and looking forward to talking to you again as sports seasons will resume here in the fall. And I know we'll see you on some sidelines somewhere.
Absolutely, guys. Yeah, always a pleasure, guys. Happy to come on anytime. And thanks again for having me.
Thank you, Zach.
It's the Real Property Solutions hotline. Real Property Solutions will buy your house as is. Give them a call. 615-527-8750 is the number to call. Just give them a shout, and they will close on your timeline. You can take what you want, leave what you don't. And if you want to close in 7 days, they can do it. If you need to close in 70, that's okay too. Just let them know. We're going to take a quick one.
Before we do, so what's your takeaway from that? That, at the major league level with the pitch clock, throwing more pitches in a shorter period of time?
I think the people that we're seeing who are being injured are veterans who, one, haven't trained that way, two, are older, just pure time, and three, they're trying to find a balance between keeping the velocity they've always had, but while also having to work in a shorter period of time. I think.
So you think the pitch clock
is a factor.
Or can be a factor.
Here's what I think he said that makes the most sense to me is the time between innings is shorter. But between the time that you get off the field, your offense,
and the time you go back out.
Yeah, and then that 220 on, warm-up time. That's it. I think that's probably the biggest issue.
Well, none of it's going anywhere.
Oh no, it's here to stay.
Yeah.
You're not putting that genie back in the bottle, especially the 2.5 hour baseball game. No, you're not putting it back in.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's take a quick 1 minute break. Justin, if you'll do that for us, we will come back and we'll get into the weirdest and wildest news from across the world on Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Back after this.
Tired of hanging lights every year? We get it. That's why Southern Nights is here to help. We install programmable lighting on your home or business so you can enjoy beautiful, customizable lighting all year round. No more ladders, tangled lights, or cold nights outside. We do the work, you do the celebrating. Call Southern Nights today and take the hassle out of holiday lighting forever. For a free quote, give us a call at 931-241-3074 or visit our Facebook page at Southern Nights.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
My bad. Welcome back. See, I
You
told
did it to yourself.
I told
huh?
you it wasn't just you. I muted both our mics. Main Street Sports Today is presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Welcome back in. We have just a few minutes left to get into the weirdest and wildest news from across the world. Mo, I want to start in sports because Rodney Velarde, longtime college baseball coach at Atlantic Cape Community College,
Long time and now former.
has resigned. And I got to figure this out. Apparently, there were communication devices inside his players' helmets. And I don't know if you've seen the video. Have you seen the video?
I've not seen the video. I've read the article.
Okay, so the video here is of these guys acting like they don't have a clue what's going on. Like, I mean, they
They got earpieces in their helmets, but they got no idea what's going on.
Look, he's like, What do you mean? Just my helmet. I don't know what you're talking about. Goes to first base, goes to second base. The coach from the other team is like, hey, you need to check their helmets.
Well, the first baseman apparently heard
it. And this is insane, right? I mean, what? I don't.
Maybe they should have turned the volume down or something, But then you got to cup your ear, and that kind of would have been
gives it away.
Yeah.
So anyway, Rodney Velarde will not be coaching baseball anytime soon. I got a feeling.
No.
So there's that. We got to go to what may be the weirdest story of the week, and that is, have you seen the surfing gator? Down in Alabama, there is an alligator who was found just chilling, maybe surfing on the beach out there. And apparently, Matt Harville, a 27-year-old Mobile resident, came across a lengthy gator on May 7th while at the beach while taking pregnancy announcement photos with his girlfriend. That's a heck of a pregnancy announcement, isn't it? You got a big gator.
Was it a blue gator or a pink gator? I mean,
that's the question. Is we don't know. The gator should have been involved in the future.
If the gator's not careful, he was going to be involved in the Gator Bites celebration later, I guess.
And down there, you never know.
Hey,
that's right.
Have you had gator tail?
Oh yeah, it's delicious.
It tastes like chicken.
So apparently, he wasn't bothering anybody. This gator was just literally having the time of his life.
I don't know if I can see that gator, it's bothering me.
Right, but he wasn't out there being aggressive or anything. So hey, who knows, man? But I can tell you this: I see a gator on June 27th, and
see you later.
It'll be see you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile, I am gone.
Yeah,
we won't be having no day on the beach. Not
on that beach.
Nope. We will find another one somewhere else.
Yeah.
And finally, before we get out of here, we got to talk about the DUI subject in Colorado. A driver who was pulled over for speeding tried to switch places with his dog to avoid arrest. Police say.
I saw something on that. I didn't read it. I did see that headline, I guess.
He was arrested for a DUI after officers saw him maneuvering inside the car before he got out of the passenger side. He said, I was not behind the wheel. Clearly showed signs of being drunk, police say. He ran from the officer when asked about how much he had to drink and was caught 20 yards later because, of course, he was drunk. Probably falling over. After he was taken to the hospital to be checked out, the man was arrested on suspicion of charges, including driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs, or driving while impaired.
I think the idea of putting the dog in the driver's seat should have been enough to tip you that he was drunk, if nothing else.
Okay, but here's my question. Did he not think there would be penalties for the dog driving?
He didn't care. That was on the dog.
License and registration,
That's
please.
That's between y'all and the dog. Hey, he was driving, not me.
You talk to him.
Hey.
I was being responsible. I let the dog drive because I'm drunk.
I tried to tell the dog he couldn't drive. Wouldn't listen to me. Maybe he'll listen to y'all.
Oh, man. Come back with us tomorrow at 2 o'clock here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. The Lee Company studio is where we broadcast from, and we'll see you then.